Hey, I'm Liz from No Trace. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a very beginner-friendly purse that has a zipper. So let's jump in. As always, I have all of the measurements to make this mini purse in the description box below this video. So just click underneath and you can see all of the information. The main outside panels are 11.5 inches tall, 10.5 inches wide. The lining fabric is also 11.5 inches tall, 10.5 inches wide. The pocket fabric is two pieces of material that are only 10 inches tall, but they're also 10.5 inches wide. You can use the same fabric to make the pocket or a different fabric. You're also going to want a strap that is about 50 inches long, maybe more, maybe less, depending on how tall you are. I have a full tutorial on how to make your own strap, which I am linking to right here, but you could also use ribbon or cording or cotton webbing. You could use whatever you want for the strap. You're also going to need a 9-inch zipper and then 2 scraps of fabric to make the loops that the strap will fit through. My scraps are 1.5 inches tall and 5 inches wide, but you can make them a little bit taller if you want, and you could also make it a little bit wider if you want. The very first step is to attach the outer fabric and inner fabric to one side of the zipper at a time. So I'm going to start with this piece of the outer fabric. I'm going to put the zipper face down, so I have the right side of the zipper on the top right side of the fabric, and I'm going to clip it with my little metal office clips. Next, I'm going to get one of my liner fabrics and I'm going to place it right side to right side. Now, this is a solid, so there's no right or wrong, but if this had a print, I would want the print facing the print. And again, I am going to clip it onto the zipper with my metal binder clips. Now I'm at my machine. I have my zipper foot in place. That is going to let me sew closer to the zipper. And I'm just going to sew right down this top edge with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And I want to make sure to back stitch at the beginning and at the end. As I get near the zipper pull, I am going to lift the presser foot and then push the pull to the back so that it doesn't get in the way of my seam. So you might have to just sort of take your time and fiddle a little bit till it gets out of your way. Okay, I finished that first seam on one side of the zipper, so now I'm going to open up the bag. And I got to close my zipper again. And now I'm going to attach the other piece of outside fabric onto the other side of the zipper. So I'm going to lay this fabric down right side up. And then I'm going to place the other edge of the zipper tape right along the top edge of the fabric. And I'm going to clip it in place. And again, I'll get my liner fabric and I'm going to put the right side of the liner fabric facing the right side of the other liner fabric. Once again, this is a solid, so either way works. But if you have a print, you want to make sure the prints of the liner fabric are facing each other. And now I'm going to go ahead and sew just like I did on the first side. The second side is attached, so I'm going to once again flip things around so that I'm looking at the top of the zipper. And I am going to take a moment and I'm going to iron the fabric away from the zipper, and I'm going to do a top stitch on each side of the zipper. I just wanted to point out that when I top stitch next to a zipper, I like to flip the lining fabric to the side. So I'm really only sewing on top of the outside fabric, and then I just sew straight down. The finished top stitching looks like that. Next up, I'm going to construct the pocket out of the 2 pocket panels. All you have to do is place the panels right sides together and just sew along the top edge with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I've got my standard presser foot back in place, and I'm going to make sure to do a back stitch at the beginning and at the end. Okay, my pocket panels are sewn together in that one spot. So now I'm just going to open it up and flip everything around, and then I'm going to iron this top edge so that it lays nice and flat. I'm going to set the pocket aside for now, and it's time to make the little loops that go on the side of the bag and hold the straps in place. So I am going to sew these smaller scraps with the right sides together. I'm just going to sew along the long edges with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Well, I should have picked a contrasting thread for you to see better, but these two scraps are now joined. So I'm just going to fold it in half and press at the center seam. I can get my scissors. I'm just going to cut these into 2 pieces. And then I have my 2 little loops, but of course we want to turn them right side out. So you might want a safety pin, or you might be able to just do this with a chopstick, but just take a moment to turn your little scraps right side out. These are turned right side out. I also gave them a quick press with the iron. Now it's time to bring all of the pieces together. So I am going to first get my pocket fabric, the 2 pieces that I sewed together, and I am going to pin them onto one of the outside fabrics and not onto the liner fabric. So I'm going to flip things around, line up the edges really nicely. I tried to figure it out so that it kind of maps onto the other fabric, but I don't know how close I got, but it's okay. This looks pretty cute, I think. Okay, so I'm just pinning the pocket on the sides onto the outer material. And then I am going to get my little straps that are the loops for the straps to go into. I am going to pin these right above the pocket, and you could also clip it if it's a little bit bulky. So I'm just folding them so that the folded edge is pointing in towards the center of the fabric. And then I'm just, whoops, you can't see that. And then I'm just clipping it or pinning it right here. I'm also adding a no trace tag, which is totally optional. And I'm going to put it right on the side, about 4 or 5 inches down from the top edge, and just pin it in place. Now I'm going to bring the outer pieces of fabric together, making sure first that my zipper is open at least part way. Bring these together, and I am going to clip them together in a few different spots. I like to start at the top where the zipper is and put a clip right there so I know that the zipper looks tidy. And I'm going to peek over here at this side of the zipper. Same thing, clip it together. And then I'll go around and I'll add some more clips, and I'll also pin the liner fabric together. Now I'm going to take this whole thing to the machine, and I am going to sew all around this edge, except I'm going to leave an opening in the liner fabric of about 3 or 4 inches so that I can turn the whole thing right side out. I'm starting this seam at the bottom edge of the liner fabric. I'm going to do a back stitch at the beginning and then just work my way around with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'm getting near where the little loop is, which you can kind of feel with your finger, or you can see where your pin is. I'm going to reinforce it with a few rows of stitches so that the loops are super secure. Now that that seam is done, we just have a couple more steps to finish this mini purse, and we are going to box the corners. And the way I like to do that is to take a ruler and draw a 1-inch square on the seams on these bottom corner seams, not on the raw edge of the fabric, but on the actual seam line. And once you have your square drawn, I'm just going to cut out along my line with some scissors. Of course, I will save these scraps. They will get repurposed into other fun projects. And once these corners are cut out, I am going to open them up. So just pull the fabric apart, and I'm going to bring the cut sides together so that the seams here are lined up. And I'm just going to go ahead and put a pin there. And where the pockets are, I want to make sure that the pocket fabric goes to the correct side of the purse. So we pinned the pocket onto one piece of fabric, and then we put the little tag on top. So we want this pocket fabric to be going towards the back for me in this situation. So I want all of that extra pocket fabric to be on the same side when I box these corners, and these are kind of thick. So I'm going to go ahead and clip them instead of pinning them. And the same thing goes on this other corner. I want to make sure that the extra pocket material is going towards this side of the bag. And then I'll go ahead and line these up and clip. And now that all these corners are lined up and pinned or clipped, I'm just going to sew straight along with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, making sure to back stitch at the beginning and the end. All right, the corners are sewn up. So now it's time to turn the whole thing right side out. So I'm going to reach my hand into the opening. I'm going to open up my zipper all the way. And then start birthing the bag, as they say. And you might have to flip the pocket around a little bit if it's coming out on the wrong side. So just make sure you can see that the pocket is where you meant it to be, and you'll get nice corners there. And the bag is almost done, just a couple more steps. I'm going to sew the opening closed, and then I'll show you how to get your straps in place. Okay, it's closed up with about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And now I'm going to push the liner into the bag. And you can see, so cute, almost done. The very last step is to get your strap into the loop and then tie a knot so it can't come back out. Depending on how thick your strap is, you might be able to pull it through with a safety pin, or you might have to just take a moment and kind of cram it into that space. Use a chopstick, use whatever you need until you get your strap through the loop. It's finished. It's so cute. I love the way it turned out. Like I mentioned, if you want to get a downloadable sewing pattern version of this bag, just click underneath this video into the description box.